So I wanted to do this to show the proper way to plant a tree that you're going to have in your landscape for the long term. This happens to be a Brogdon avocado, but the same principles apply whether you're planting an avocado tree, a mango tree, or a crepe myrtle, or a live oak for shade or something like that. Anything that's a hardwood that you want to last for a long time. A huge part of the success or failure of a tree long term in the landscape is determined when it's planted. So most of the time trees are just planted too deep at planting, but they're progressively planted too deep throughout the whole propagation stage. So in the nursery trade, this is a avocado that's grafted on a rootstock, right? This tree was probably grafted, the seed was sprouted in a 1 gallon pot, and it was grafted to this variety, and then it was potted up to this 3 gallon pot. So just before we turn the camera on, the soil level, if you come in close here so we can see the pot, the soil level was about here. It's about 1.5 inches higher than it is right now. So if you come in, let's come in real close and get a close-up shot of these roots, because this is the most important thing here. So all trees, from the time they germinate, there's roots. These bigger roots here, these are first order roots. These form at the junction of the stem tissue and the root tissue. You do not want, these roots need to be at the soil level. These are the big buttress roots. These are going to become the main roots that support and sustain this tree for the rest of its life. If I were to plant the tree down here where it was, these little feeder roots are going to come up and over the top of these first order roots. And in time, we can develop rot here on the stem. This is stem tissue. This does not need to be underground. If this tree was planted in nature, this never ends up underground. This is only a product of, typically, of cultivated trees grown in a nursery, right? So this tree was planted too deep. If I planted this tree at that level, I'm probably going to end up some kind of stem rot here at the base, or it's at least much more possible. So if I want to set the tree up for success long term, I need to make sure I'm planting it at the right level. So I pulled away the soil here at the top, and I had a bunch of root crown shoots that are coming off the rootstock here that I wanted to get rid of. So I just gently broke those off. So now what I'm going to do is I've got the tree, I've dug my hole, and I want to plant my tree at this level of the soil right here, because this is where my first order roots are. So I want the soil that's going to be around the tree to be level with where these roots are, slightly above that, right? So this, again, is the same thing no matter what you're planting. If you're planting a tree, you plant it this way. So what we want to do now is we've got it, I think, approximately where I want it to be, this slightly on an angle here. But what we're going to do is I'm going to pull it out of the hole, and some plants have denser, more fibrous root balls. Most of your trees don't. Young trees they don't have very many roots, and they tend to be fleshy, and they'll break easily, and they're very susceptible to root damage when they're this size. So, and again, that's true of most different types of trees that are grown from seeds. So what I'm going to do to be as gentle and as delicate as possible is I'm going to come in, and what we're going to do is we've got it at the right depth. We're going to cut the bottom of the container off, and then we're going to cut it down the side. So what we're going to do is we'll cut it, and then we'll set it in the hole, and we'll keep it together, and then we'll be able to peel those pieces of the pot off gently when we're down in the hole. So what I'm going to do is I'll come here along the bottom, and I'm going to cut this container. And I'll be gentle with it, because I don't want it to break apart on me before I get it. Before I get it in the hole, I don't want my root ball to break up. And again, sometimes this is completely unnecessary, but if you paid good money for a tree and you want it to be, you want to take care of it when you're planting. And you can do a lot of damage inadvertently if you're not careful in this stage. And if there's any roots in here, it's not gonna matter too much if I cut these. Roots don't really have business being around the bottom edge of the container anyway. So now this container has, the bottom is totally cut off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it down the side here, like this. Okay, and we can see now, there's my roots. And they're just starting to come to the edge of the container. So I'm gonna hold this together, put it in my hole right here, and I'm gonna double check. Now at this stage, it's important, look at the tree and decide which way you want it pointing, right? This tree, I've got a branch here, 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 and I've got the stem here, the meristem. So if you're planting a larger tree, this is even more important because you want your branches, you might want it to, a tree has a side, right? Some trees have a good looking side and some have a better, this is a fruit tree. I'm concerned about production. I'm gonna be pruning it anyway, but if it were a tree in your landscape that was ornamental, definitely take a minute and find which side you like and point it, face it the right way. So in this case, I like the orientation here. I think it's good. So what I'm gonna do is very gently, I'm gonna come in here under this tree, lift it out just a little bit so I can get a hold of that bottom of the container. There's the bottom, right? And now I can come in here very gently. I can pull away the container. And now my tree is at the level that I want. In this case, I had a mulberry tree here. I've got some drip irrigation here that's already set up. I'm not gonna fertilize this tree at all. It doesn't need it. This soil is pretty good in this part of my yard here. Oh, and look at that, the drip irrigation's coming on right now. So what we'll do is we'll just come in here gently and we'll backfill around this tree. And then it's very important that you come in here and get the air pockets out from around the roots. And sometimes you might have to really pack it in depending on how dry. The drier the soil and the more, maybe chunks of stuff it might have in it, you might have to really get in there and pack it in. This soil is pretty moist right now, so it packs in relatively easily. It's got a good tilt to it, so because I just dug up a tree. So again, I can see my first order roots right at the surface. I'll pack that around. I've got my irrigation. And then the last step for this is just to give it a good covering of mulch. And I won't cover up, I'll put the mulch right up to the stem, right? And maybe this could have mulch 4 inches deep over it. But I don't want to pile the mulch up against the stem. So that's pretty much it right there. So again, if you're planting anything you're planting, if it's a tree that you want in your landscape for a long time, take the time to do it correctly because it will make all the difference. So should be set up for success.